Talk is finally here, and you made it to the very first one. This is our premiere, our very first taping. We're so excited, and thank you for coming, and thank you for those of you tuning in on Roku. It's so good to have you watching.
Yes, we're very excited about today, and we're very excited that all of you are out there in the studio audience with us. Give yourselves a hand.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you, Kevin? Are you excited?
I'm so excited. We are actually streaming on our very own Roku channel, Roku network, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but Roku actually has, as of last year, I believe it was, 80 million viewers. That's a lot of viewers. 80 million people now have access to our ministry, access to our teachings, and we love it. So
yeah, that is a huge audience, you guys. That's
huge,
a huge audience.
Huge.
80 million people is a lot. But for all of those of you out there that don't do Roku, because we know there are people that still don't do Roku, but they're very familiar with YouTube. Now, YouTube's been around a while.
Yes, it has.
So we also have a brand new YouTube channel just for the show. So it doesn't have everything else on it. It's just for the show. So all of those of you that still have YouTube, you can tune in right there on YouTube.
Just search for Straight Talk on YouTube. You should find it. And listen, we know that all of this looks a little bit different than what we're used to. This is not our traditional church. This is not what we started. If you were here with us at CLC when we started in 2009, you'll know that this stage is completely different.
It's changed a little bit.
But we also truly believe that God is in it. God kind of gave us this vision like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. He was starting to put it in, and we started to see a little bit of shifting. And I was reminded by one of our church members not too long ago that 3 years ago, we had someone come in and start prophesying over us and prophesied over the church. And she told us, and she reminded us that the prophet said that church will not look like you're used to. It's not going to look the same. And if, at least for us, this looks completely different, doesn't it?
Yes. The Bible says in Isaiah 43:18 through 19, "Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert."
We believe God is doing a new thing. And could you imagine? Could you imagine if we could never get past the past? I mean, I remember playing soccer as a kid. I was awesome. Okay, maybe I wasn't, but I can tell you today I'm not awesome, okay? We have so many trophies from when we were kids, but listen, we can't do the same things we used to. Everything is very different. And could you imagine if we couldn't get past our past? And if we never got past our past, we might still look like this old picture I found. Check it out, everybody. This is an old picture of Kevin and KRISTIE.
Goodness.
Wait, is that hair I see? Is that actually hair I see? But listen, I love that God is doing a new thing. We're so excited about change. And for those of you who know me, you know that there's one thing that I don't mind, and that's a little bit of change. Sometimes you just have to change. Sometimes you just have to hit the reset button. You kind of need a redo. Sometimes you need a complete system reboot in order to be productive again. I mean, we've had to do that.
Yeah, we actually, when we were getting ready to start the show, we had one of our computers that was so bogged down, it took 5 minutes for one. You would hit a button, and the command would take like 5 minutes to kick in. So we had to completely redo that computer. And I'm excited about the new things God is doing right here in this place.
Yes, that's right.
In our lives.
Yeah, God's doing. It's almost like we hit reboot, like Control-Alt-Delete, restart the computer, and let's start fresh. God wants us here right now, right here.
Yes, sir. Hey, everyone. I got somebody to introduce to you.
Come on now.
Right over here, we got Mix Master, DJ, MC, Kehlani. Everybody say hello to Kehlani.
Hey,
how you doing,
DJ K Dizzle in the house. So, Kaylani, how do you like your new workstation over there? It's pretty awesome.
I love it. It's definitely different than what I'm used to, but, it's very exciting stuff going on.
There's not even a keyboard back there. I just noticed there's not even a keyboard back there.
Back here. It's a little uncomfortable to get used to, but I love it. Everything is awesome back here.
Yeah, we're all learning together.
Yes.
What do you think about the change in the church here that you can see?
I think the change is good overall. I think that everything we've got going for ourselves is going to be a great impact on the city of Salem and those who are watching on Roku. Yeah. And I'm very excited for us. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. We're glad to have you on the team, our oldest daughter. We're glad to have Kennedy on the team, our youngest daughter. And Cameron will be here tomorrow. We're so excited for that. But, folks, we have a great show for you today. So we've got a super special guest for you tonight. He comes all the way from Puyallup. It's our very own Johnny Williams.
Woo!
We're so excited about that. Yep.
Yeah, and later in the show, we'll begin a 3-part discussion called Stepping Out.
Yep.
We'll talk about the blessings of stepping out in faith the way Peter did when he stepped out of the boat when Jesus called him out into the crashing waves of the water.
Yeah, and I just want to...
It took faith for Peter to get out of that boat.
I just want to make sure that everybody's clear, those that are in the live studio audience, those that are watching on Roku. Yeah. This show is going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be inspiring. But we're also getting into the Word, and we're going to teach the gospel. Because the gospel message must go out.
Yes.
It's not changed at all.
That's
just
right.
our packaging may have changed a little bit, and that's why we're here. So look forward to that. But stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the worship of Johnny Williams.
If you walked in sick, you can walk out healed. And if you walked in bound, you can walk out free. 'Cause just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, everything can change, everything can change.
All right, everybody, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back to Straight Talk. We have a great show for you today. Our first guest comes to us all the way from Puyallup, Washington, in a Bible college there at Motion Church. He's no stranger to us here, as his family actually helped us launch this church back in 2009 when he was only about 8 years old at the time, I guess. He's now getting his theology degree and leading worship. He's actually the worship leader at one of the largest Foursquare churches in Washington State. Please help me welcome today Johnny Williams.
Before I start singing, I would just love to say that I believe anytime the keys are playing or an instrument is being played, God inhabits the praises of his people. And what I know to be true is when God's in the place, things like healing can happen. And being in this building is very special. I fell in love with the Lord under the ministry of my uncle and aunt. And to lead worship in other churches and to invite the presence of the Lord has changed my life. And I truly owe that to the prayers of my family and the faithfulness of my uncle and aunt. So if you can believe anything right now, if this can stir your faith, is that God could even move right now. So if you're watching online or wherever you're at, the circumstances that you may have been facing then can certainly change by the end of this show. Amen? So thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Yes. If you walked in sick, you can walk out healed. If you walked in bound, you can walk out free. Just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, everything can change, yeah. If you walked in heavy, you can walk out light. If you walked in broken, it's gonna be alright. Just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, just the mention of his name, everything can change. Oh, his name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Now everything can change. Everything can change. Oh, we love you, Lord. And we invite your power, Lord. Wherever we are, Jesus, everything can change. Everything can change. Oh, everything can change. Demons have to flee at the mention of your name. And strongholds have to break at the mention of your name. There is so much grace at the mention of your name. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Oh, I love Jesus. We love you, Jesus. We love you, Jesus. We love you, Jesus. And it's all for you. It's all for your glory. We want to see your beauty. Everything can change.
Come on. That's Johnny Williams, everybody. That's Johnny Williams. I love you, man. I love you on worship, man. The heart of worship. It's amazing. Thank you so much for coming and being. We're going to hear more from him later in the show, but right now we're going to take a commercial break. So stay with us. Stay tuned. We got more Straight Talk right after this.
I gotta go slow.
Down.
Why do I gotta go slow?
Okay. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it?
Where's it? Ah, touched it. It's gooey. It's gooey.
Okay, what do you think it is? What do you think it is?
I don't know what it's called, but it's gooey.
It's gooey.
Maybe a frog.
At Advantage Heating and Air, we believe in our craftsmanship. Did you know the same piece of equipment installed by two different contractors can perform up to 50% differently? And the number one source for failure of an HVAC within the first 5 years is due to improper installation. That's why we train 3 times a week. That's why we're the best trained craftsmen in the area. And that's why we're extending our warranty. The average system is replaced every 15 years. And the typical labor warranty is 2 to 3. So we're giving you 20 years. Why? Because we're obsessed with giving you the quality, reliability, and peace of mind you deserve.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome. All right, listen, every show here at Straight Talk, we want to add a little fun and excitement, just as you can see here, with what we call our fun segment. And today's fun segment, I like to call What's in the Box. Yeah. So, here we go, our first contestant. It's our special guest. You just heard him worship. Let's put our hands together for John Williams. Let's go, Johnny. You're right here. All right, you're going to stand right there. And our second contestant is a brave soul that we got right out of our audience. Would you please put your hands together for Ed Steiner? All right, Ed. And our final contestant today, she didn't want to do it, but we made her do it. This is our very own hostess. Would you put your hands together for KRISTIE? All right, you guys, so here's how the game is going to be played. As you can see, we have 3 boxes here, and the point of the game is to guess what's in the box. Yeah. It could be a little scary. It could be a little gross. It could be a little fun. But the key is to guess what's in the box. All right, so here's how we're going to do it. Johnny, since you're our special guest from out of town, we're going to allow you to pick first. Okay. You can pick any box you want, and then we're going to time you. Maybe. I don't have a timer, but we're going to pretend, and you're going to guess what's in the box in as quickly as you can, okay? The point of the game is to guess the quickest, all right? So, Johnny, you're up first. Come on up, Johnny.
I want the middle.
You want the middle. You're already there. Okay, you're already ready for the middle. Okay, so don't get scared. Don't get scared.
This is so messed up.
All right? It could be fun. It could be gross. It could be scary. Okay. All right? But you want to guess as quickly as possible without looking, so you're going to put your hands in. Let's count them down, audience, in 3, 2, 1. And stick your hand in there. Stick your hand in there.
Bro, this is whack. I don't want to touch nothing. I don't want to touch nothing.
No, you got to put your...
No, this is not a thing.
Put
this
your
is not a thing. It smells weird too. It smells like dirty. It smells dirty.
You gotta guess. It's been like 20 seconds.
Dude,
already. No, you have to stick your hand.
I can't do it, bro.
What do you feel? Anything?
I touched something, bro. What the heck, bro?
Put your hand. Come on, Johnny. You got it. What do you think it is? What do you think it is?
It was gooey, but it's not in the same spot no more. So
it's moving? You're saying it's moving? No, just be calm, dude. Be calm, dude. Be calm, bro. Okay. Towards the back. Feel around the back. Slowly.
Why do I gotta go slow?
Down.
Why do I gotta go slow?
Okay. Do you feel it? You feel it?
Where's it? Ah, I touched it. It's gooey.
Okay, what do you think it is? What do you think it is?
I don't know what it's called.
It's gooey.
Maybe a frog.
It's not a frog. Come on. What else you got?
Oh my God. Silly putty.
No.
It's not in the corner now. Bro, what in the world is gooey?
Okay, what do you think it is?
Gooey, dog.
Gooey.
Where is it? Do I have to guess?
All right, you got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more guess. You don't know. All right, man, take a seat or stand right there. All right, give it up for Johnny. He didn't get it. Johnny, I don't know what happened, man, but listen, Ed, since he didn't get it, you can choose number 2 if you want, okay? But you can choose 1, 2, or 3. Which one would you like to guess? 4. No, there's no 4. There's no 4. We need a 1, 2, or 3.
But he did.
A 1, 2, or 3. Okay, let's go for 1, all right?
Going for 1.
Your hand in there in 3. Let's count them down. This is Ed Steiner. 1, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, stick your hand in there. Just tell us what you think that is. So far it's just there. You gotta go deeper. Sometimes you gotta go deeper. What do you think it is?
Why do I?
It's cold? What do you think it is? You got a guess?
It was
Are
gooey.
you saying it's ice?
Gooey.
No.
What do you think it is? What do you think it is? It does. I can vouch for that. It does smell. It's wet and it smells awful. What do you think it is?
I don't know.
You got a guess? A turnip? No, it's not a turnip.
Frozen turnip.
It's not a frozen turnip.
Oh.
What do you think it is? You got about 15 seconds.
I have no idea. I'm going with a rock, but you told me it was.
And got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. What's your last guess?
Potato.
Correct. That is it. tornado.
Who's guessing stuff that doesn't
He
move?
tried, everybody. Give Ed Steiner a hand. Give Ed Steiner a hand.
Wow. Okay.
You good, Kayla? You good?
Like, why do we
All
even
right.
need that?
So we've got one more
I don't
contestant,
know.
and that's Pastor Kristi Truitt. They did not guess, so you can pick out of all three. Which one do you want to guess?
That one's gooey and moves, and that one
Stinky and wet.
stinky and wet. I'll do that one.
You're gonna go. Okay, number 3. Come on up. Come on up. This is Kristi. Let's give it up for Kristi. All right, Kristi, you're gonna put your hands in there. You're gonna guess what it is.
Both hands?
Both of them failed, so basically, all you have to do is guess correctly, and you win the game. All
I
right?
have to keep my eyes closed.
You have to keep your eyes closed in 3, 2, 1. All right, stick your hands in there. Stick your hands all the way down in there and tell us what you feel. Keep going.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Whoa.
I'm afraid.
Keep
Okay.
going. Keep going. There you go.
Found the bottom.
You found the bottom. Oh. All right. I like how you're looking up. I like how you're looking up because this is difficult.
It touched me.
It touched you.
Or I touched it. I don't know.
All right.
Okay, okay.
All right. Come on. Put your hands back in there. We got to have a winner, you guys. We got to have a winner. Go ahead. Stick your hands.
Oh, Jesus. Don't
Oh,
let
oh,
it bite me.
oh. Keep trying. Oh, there you go.
It's
There
a
you
bowl?
go. Okay.
a
What's
bowl?
what's in the bowl? Go ahead and feel
Is there
inside
something
there.
in the bowl?
There you go. What do you got there?
Ew,
Come
ew.
give,
What the?
give us some guesses. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Is it like a dead thing?
It's not a dead thing. It's not a dead thing. Go ahead. What do you got? What do you got?
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
What'd you grab?
Ew.
Give us a guess.
What in the world?
All right, you got 15 seconds. We don't want to.
Oh, is it a worm?
It's a worm! Our winner for our very first segment,
A
Kristi
worm!
Truitt. Let's give her a hand. And And when we come back, we'll visit with our special guest, Johnny Williams. Stick around. We'll be right back right after these commercial breaks.
So like you
That's
said,
cool.
we gotta go raise
That's
money to go to the
awesome.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
It's like not even like that. 'Cause
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all included.
Okay.
Which, like
My
the
bad.
school-
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
My bad.
I only say that because my school is the greatest program in school
Yeah.
in the whole world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's just like my own shameless plug. Like, hey,
Very
motion
cool.
interns, motion church. It's really amazing. Yeah.
We keep playing with fire, knowing it's a dangerous game. So we keep playing with fire.
All right, all right. I'm so excited. Woo! It's good to see excitement in the crowd. Well, we have a wonderful guest today, and we have known him his entire life.
Yes.
His entire life, growing up into the incredible young man that he is today. And this gentleman has such a heart for God and a heart for worship. He loves to just usher people into the presence of the Lord through his worship. So we're excited to have him come back out and interview him a little bit. So let's get to your feet and let's welcome Johnny Williams back.
Come on, bro. Have a seat, Johnny. Yeah.
That's a lit photo, dude.
Like that?
That's a good
You
photo.
like that? You like
Dude, I look
that?
strong in that. That's great.
So, Johnny, you've been on the show. You put us in the heart of worship. You wouldn't guess the ooey gooey.
No, I was confused.
But we've had a blast. How you doing, man?
So good. Life is so good. I wake up every day and I'm really like, God, how could I have it so good? Nobody has it better than me. Thank you
Come
so
on,
much.
man. Come on,
So
man.
good.
See, that's what I
Yes.
love about you, man, because you've always got that positive attitude,
Yeah.
and you just
Yeah.
look at God as God's done all of this. For you, he's done all of it. He's done a lot for you, man.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for you. I remember when you Your parents actually helped start this church.
Yeah.
You were part of that.
That was lit.
And when we came to this building, you sat all the way in the back, hanging out with Mom, and really committed to the Lord at that point. And then you went off to Bible college, and so you've been at school, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on at school?
A lot. I went to school. It doesn't feel like I'm at school because it's an internship at a church.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like everything school is just like secondary. If third dairy is a word, it's third
Yeah.
dairy. It could be
Okay.
fourth dairy. I know
Okay.
that's not a word, but that's what
Okay.
I'm getting at.
Okay.
So really, like I just graduated with my bachelor's degree in business.
Come on. Way to go, buddy.
And everybody's congratulating me, like that's amazing. But because school is like so not what I'm focused on, I don't even feel. I feel good, but I don't even feel good. I'm just like, we're on mission in Puyallup, and so that's really all I've consumed my mind with as far as school goes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and you recently went on a mission trip
Yes.
to South America, right?
I went to Puerto Rico.
Oh, Puerto Rico,
and the
that's right.
Bahamas.
And
So
the
that's a
Bahamas.
mission, you guys. That is a
Yeah.
mission. Let's go to the Bahamas.
It was.
We're going to go raise money to go to the Bahamas. We've got a mission for the Lord.
Yeah. Well, what's so amazing about my school is the missions trip is included in the tuition. So
Okay.
like you
That's
said,
cool.
we gotta go raise
That's
money to go to the
awesome.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
It's like not even like that. 'Cause
Okay.
It's all included.
Okay.
Which, like
My
the
bad.
school-
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
My bad.
I only say that because my school is the greatest program in school
Yeah.
in the whole world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's just like my own shameless plug. Like, hey,
Very
motion
cool.
interns, motion church. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Well, I know that when you went to school, it was an internship, but you are actually like getting educated and actually doing work
Yeah.
and getting your degree.
Uh-huh.
So
It's in
what are
theology.
you doing for
Well,
your degree?
so I just got my degree in business administration.
Okay, cool.
And so that just looks like all online.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
I have a day where I don't have a life and all I do is school. Because you're supposed to do school this day, throughout the week. But because we're all doing ministry, I put it all off. And then when I have a day off, I do all of the week's work in one day.
So you're actually not in a classroom setting.
No.
Then. Everybody's online.
No, some people are in classroom settings.
Okay.
I chose to do online because my brain just works like that. I would
Okay.
rather go at my own pace.
Yeah.
And so like most people wouldn't want to sit down for 12 hours and do work.
Yeah.
But I would rather do that just
Wow.
to get it done.
And then throughout the week, you're plugged into the church,
Yes.
helping out with the music program, with the
Yeah.
worship, with the youth. I see you
Yes.
doing youth conferences and
Yeah.
young adult conferences and just all over the place. Like you're ministering all the time.
It's really fun. Our church is alive and we are fast paced and
Yeah.
we're doing it for souls. Everything we do is attached to a soul, so it's
Yeah.
fun.
Very
it's
cool.
super
And
good.
one really cool thing that Kevin and I noticed is that you started playing on a basketball team up there.
Yes.
And the coach happens to be a pastor
Yeah.
that your family sat under in Eugene, Oregon.
Eugene, Oregon.
Yes.
And when we first moved to Oregon, we sat under him for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Yep.
So Sean McCartan is
Yeah.
now up in Washington
Coaching basketball.
and
Yes.
pastoring at Motion Church, right?
Yeah, so
Wow.
Pastor Sean, our church is 3 campuses. So Pastor Sean is the campus pastor at one of our campuses.
Okay.
And what is super special is I'm an intern at the church, so I'm not on staff. And last summer, they hired me contractually because the worship pastor at Pastor Sean's campus had a baby. And so they told me, hey, while she's doing her baby thing, go be the worship pastor there. And
Wow.
so I was the worship pastor at Pastor Sean's campus for
Okay.
like 10
While
weeks.
you're interning.
Yes,
While
I'm
you're
interning.
interning.
Yeah. So
That's
I
But
was,
now
pretty
you're at the
exciting.
mother church.
so it's I don't like to put it as mother church because all of the churches are like really big
Yeah.
and doing their thing and we're all
Yeah.
like together.
Yeah.
I'm just at what used to be our main campus building.
And you call
So-
that downtown.
Yes, downtown.
Okay.
So there's no like main campus
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
we're all like rocking it and we're
Okay.
all one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the campus is the original
Right.
building
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Motion Church.
Yeah.
And we used to go to that church.
Yes,
we were
we
actually
did.
there for a
We
couple of
did.
years, served there as a worship leader and all
Yes.
that. I was
Yeah.
telling you about that. And I remember back then they didn't actually have like the internship program that they have today. They were just starting
It was
it.
just starting.
But I
Master's
remem-
Commission.
Yes, and I remember when those interns would come in after every service, they'd vacuum. Do you still do that?
Yep.
They wore the vacuum on their back. They had the vacuum packs on their back,
Like
and they would.
Ghostbusters.
Yes, it looked like Ghostbusters.
Yep.
And they had like 6 of them, and they would go like this all through the building.
Yes.
Have you ever done that?
I did. So your first year, it's different now, but my first year there, the whole year, I was part of that cleaning after every service.
Okay.
And so I love worship, but I didn't get to serve on the worship team because you have to serve in every area of the church.
Right.
And so a lot of that was cleaning. So
Very
my
cool.
first year was a lot of toilets and garbages and vacuums and walking everywhere.
Yep.
A lot of time to pray.
Well, now listen, before you left for school, you were here, and you were very, very involved with Western's basketball program.
Yeah.
Best program
So-
in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, you guys won the championship.
Yes.
We got to watch
Dang,
that.
woo.
But tell us about sports now, because I know your life has taken kind of a transition.
Yeah.
And so tell us, how does sports fit into your life today?
Well, basketball was my world. I made decisions like where I want to go to school because of basketball.
Right.
And so going into Motion Church, Motion Interns, they started a basketball program for the first year ever, my first year. But the reason why I chose to go to school there, other than like a college just to play basketball, is because it would be the first time in my life I made a decision where God was first, not basketball.
Right.
And so choosing to
that's
go
awesome.
serve in ministry at Motion Church was the first decision I ever made with God at the focal point. And so because of that, over the years, my love for basketball has definitely diminished.
Wow.
And only because I'm just so much more obsessed with the Bible and God.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds cliche, but it's just true. It's all I care about. I just want to know more about the Lord. And like this year, I graduated with my bachelor's in business. And I'm so
Amazing.
glad that I'm done learning stuff that I don't care about, because now I can get my master's in theology.
Wow.
And
Yes.
so this year I'm going to get my master's in theology, which is just like the greatest blessing ever. And we still have a basketball team, and we're doing well. We have a full season schedule. We won half our games last year.
Okay.
And it's just growing, and we get to evangelize to other teams. There's a team we played, a community college we played, and 2 of their players that we played against are actually playing on our team this year.
Wow.
Because we just evangelized to them, recruited them, and they want to rock with us.
Very cool.
And so
That's
they're
really
going to go from spending all day every day with a bunch of unsaved college age people to spending every day all day with all saved, in love with
Yes.
God, college
Yes.
age people.
That's
So it's
awesome.
really
Yeah,
amazing.
we love that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's super great.
So now, I don't know if you guys know this about Johnny Williams, but when he was playing basketball, he was like, he could have went all the way. Seriously, you were rocking it, man. How many 3-pointers have you made in a row? What's your record?
In one game.
3-pointers
Record
in
in
a
a game.
row.
20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. Like, I can't even do 20 just off the backboard in a row. So that's pretty cool. But he has a new passion now, and we heard your heart of worship right at the beginning of the show. And I love that transition, because your dad was a worship pastor,
Yes.
I was a worship pastor,
Yep.
and here you are now being a worship pastor. So tell us more about your journey.
It's been amazing. Like, I have a worship pastor, so there's 3 campuses. I'm the worship pastor of just one of them. And I have somebody above me who's the worship pastor of the whole church in its entirety. And he took me under his wing. And my dream is to be a senior pastor of a church where I just am, blessing people, setting my treasures in heaven, giving people money, just doing whatever I can.
Is that how you do it?
Yes, I
Bless
do it
you,
like
bless
this.
you,
Here you
bless
go,
you,
here you go,
bless
here
you,
you go,
bless
here
you,
you go,
bless
here you go.
you, bless you, bless you,
Yes.
bless you.
Like throwing them out.
So
like it.
my desire was not to be a worship
Yeah.
pastor, but my worship pastor now, his name is Zach Bates. He pulled me aside, and he said his dream for me was to be the worship pastor at the campus that he was pastoring at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when he said that to me, it was like, whoa, like, that's your dream for me? That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my new dream.
Yeah.
And so once it became my new dream, he took me under his wing, and he pretty much taught me everything I know.
Wow.
That I didn't pick up from you or my dad.
Yeah.
And he just gave me opportunity after opportunity.
awesome.
And it was really cool because, before you can serve your own vision, you got to serve someone else's vision.
Come on,
And so
man.
I
Come on,
started
man.
as a
That's
first-year
good, Johnny.
intern, just cleaning and going around. And then I was serving the person who was doing our student chapel's vision.
Yeah.
And they would ask me to sing, and I would sing whatever they told me. And then over time, this is so funny, but they might have had a moral failure
Yeah.
And so because of that, they get stripped from the platform, given circumstances. You know, if you mess up, you don't get stripped from the platform. It's all about your heart. It's different for everybody.
Sure.
So I served his vision. Something happened. Then they gave it to me. So now I'm serving my own vision. And then with another ministry, over time, whoever was leading that, you know, stepped down or moved away, and they gave me that ministry to serve with my own vision. And then it just built over time. I had like all these different worship teams that I was now leading and getting to like really pray and spend time with the Lord and spend time with the Spirit, just like casting, him downloading vision.
So cool.
It's not my vision because it's from the Lord, but it's coming through me. So it was so fun to just serve other people's visions, and then over time, God was like, all right, I trust you, you're faithful with the little, I'm going to give you a little more.
Come on now.
And so I just feel like I'm the guy who got 5 talents, and I'm trying to turn them into 10.
There you go.
You know, and so it's just been like unbelievable.
Johnny, we noticed this last year, you actually have a song on Spotify called Song of Reverence. And
so
if
you can
look
it
up Motion Church, Johnny Williams, Song of Reverence on Spotify, you can find Johnny's song online. Johnny, you did not write that song, but you were asked to sing it for the person who did write it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we were playing tennis, and my worship pastor and I were playing tennis, and we were recording the song that night. And it's to my understanding that he's going to lead it. He wrote it.
Right.
And then he said, hey, bro, you might lead Song of Reverence tonight. Just be ready. And I go, okay. And then it wasn't until right before we started singing the song, we're literally playing the song, he looked at me and goes,
Take it.
Got it. And so I was like, boom. And so I had it. So there was no like, that's just what Motion Church does, is they platform people. And one thing Roger Archer, you guys know him, says is how you set your treasures in heaven is you spend money on people, you platform people, and you just show grace to people and all these different things. And so like my new dream is just to platform people and just whatever was done for me, I want to do for someone else.
Empower others.
Yes, and so that's why I sing a song on Spotify, is because
pour into them.
My worship pastor knew how to set his treasures in heaven. And so he platformed me and gave me that opportunity to give that offering to the Lord.
So
so it was cool.
That's
I love it.
Johnny leads worship often at
Motion Church.
Quite often at Motion Church and at the main campus. So you can also look them up online. They're on many of the social media outlets. So you can look up Motion Church and you can catch Johnny leading worship anytime. So we're just looking forward to continuing to see what God does in your life in the future,
crazy.
Johnny.
Johnny,
We're so excited.
This season is new for all of us, and I hope that you'll come back and be more part of it. We'd love to hear more of your worship. We're so thankful you're actually going to be with us on the next episode and the episode after that. We want to hear more of that worship. You know what I really like, honey? I'd like to book you on this show to come up and actually preach as our guest.
I would
just
do
come
that
and preach
in a
for
heartbeat.
10 minutes. I would love to hear that. Would you like to hear that? Because I know he can preach. I know he can preach. So we want to thank you for joining us. But we got to take a break right now. We'll be back. We'll be back. But please stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to dive into a brand new series called Step Out. And we're going to talk about life and how we need to step out in faith and how many miracles. Check this out, Johnny. What if Peter never stepped out of the boat? He would have missed out on his miracle. And so we want to talk about how many miracles are we missing out on if we don't just step out. So we want to talk about that. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk right after this.
That was good.
And I hear it clear as day, go pray for that girl, go pray for that girl. And I'm like, no way. So I said, God, if you really want me to go pray for her, I'm going to have a sign. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever asked God for a sign, but I asked for a sign. Like God, if you really want me to pray for, number 1, I might get in trouble. Number 2, she might, make me throw up. And number 3, who knows, we might get married. So what do you think? God, I need a sign.
We keep playing with fire, knowing it's a dangerous game. So
Welcome back.
Yes. Did you all enjoy that time with Johnny Williams?
It was awesome. He's
What
such a
an
stud.
amazing
Love
young
him. Love
man.
him.
He has such a heart for worship. You all got to hear that at the beginning of the show. But now it's time to move on to our next segment,
Yep.
Kevin. It's time to dive into our subject for the night, stepping out.
Yep.
Basically, it's time to talk.
Let's do it. All right. All right, today we're starting a new series called Step Out, as you said, and it's really just about stepping out in faith and believing God for your miracle.
Yes.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, and if you guys have been with me at all, you remember in my church years ago, I talked about this actually. I talked about it in like, what if Peter never stepped out of the boat? Peter actually walked on water, which is an incredible miracle. I don't know if you guys ever tried it. Have you ever tried? Like I've tried walking on water. Like you have to run. It's not really walking, right? But you try to run as fast as you can.
You tried to skim across
I tried.
water?
I've tried many times. It doesn't work. But Peter actually did it. He actually stepped out of the boat and walked. But what if he never stepped out of the boat?
Yeah.
You know, what would we do? So today's scripture, actually for this series, I want to tell you the story, and I want to read it to you. So in Matthew chapter 14, verse 25 through 29, it says this, and you can read it on the screen with us. If you're at home, you can get your Bibles out. But it says, about 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified, and in their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!" Verse 27 says, but Jesus spoke to them at once, "Don't be afraid." He said, "Take courage, I am here." We'll talk about that because sometimes, even when you know Jesus is in it, there's fear. And Jesus has to say, don't be afraid. So in verse 28, Peter actually says to Jesus, who called him out, he said, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." And so Jesus said, "Yes, come," he said. So Peter went over the side of the boat, stepped out of the boat, and walked on the water toward Jesus. And this is an interesting story.
What faith. He hears Jesus on the water, and he hears them saying, "Don't be afraid, it's just me," basically reminding them, "I'm here with you." And Peter says, "If it's really you, Lord, bid me to come out."
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really sure if I was sitting in the boat, I would say, "Hey, ask me to walk on water if it's really you." I mean, that just took a lot of faith for Peter to even say that. And then to actually take that first initial step over the side of the boat.
There's so much to actually glean from this story. If you really, really break it down, there's so much. And we're going to talk about it through the next 3 episodes. But, I mean, just think about it. He got in a boat after, now this is after they had already experienced miracles. They've already seen the miracle hand of God. And then he gets in a boat. And so then he has to step out of the boat. Now, there were other people in the boat, but he had to step out. What about the other ones, right? So there's something to think about there. And then there was a storm. They thought he was a ghost. Jesus had to say, "Don't fear, it's me." There's just so much to glean from this story.
It's interesting in the story that it doesn't say that Jesus calmed the waters and then called Peter to come out of the boat. The storms were still raging when he called Peter out of the boat. And then the storm was still raging when Peter got out of the boat and walked toward Jesus. So
I'd like to talk about that a little bit too. I want to start though by thinking about this because part of what the interesting part of this story is when Jesus said, "Why are you afraid? Don't be afraid," right? They were fearful, and they had already seen miracles as we had talked about. But then Peter says, "Well, okay, if it's you, like you just said, call me out to walk." And so it's kind of like, "Prove it, Lord," right? Like, prove it, right? It's kind of like throwing a fleece out before the Lord and saying, "Well, if it really is you, then prove it. Call me out to the water." That's what he said, right? And have you ever experienced that where you felt like God was telling you to do something, but you wanted him to prove it?
I have, actually. There have been many times that, things come up in our lives. We all deal with circumstances in our life. And I think your first instinct is, "Lord, I know you're in it when you calm the storm." I wonder if Peter's mind was saying, Jesus is going to calm the storm, and then I'm going to walk out there on the water towards him. you know, because sometimes it's hard to take those steps in the storm, right? We expect the storm to calm, and then we can start moving forward, because it's really hard to walk forward in a storm.
Right.
But we have to do it anyway, and it's oftentimes in the midst of that storm that we'll hear the instruction to come, right, or to move forward or whatever. And actually, it's interesting because Johnny and I were having a little discussion earlier, and he was just talking about how God's just been talking to him about some stuff and just challenging Johnny to take some steps, to step out in faith and do some extra stuff. I mean, and it's just beautiful stories to see what God does when you take that first step, because it's that first step that's so hard to take.
It is hard to take.
So sometimes we contemplate it for a while, and then we're like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to take that first step, or next month I'm going to take that first step, and we just got to go in faith and do it.
Yeah, I've actually thrown I don't know if you call it throwing a fleece before the Lord, but I remember being at a youth camp one time, a long time ago. I was at a youth camp, and I just felt like the Lord was telling me to pray for someone, and he actually called me out and said, I want you to pray for that girl. I'm like, first off, we're at youth camp. You're not allowed to go anywhere near girls. Okay, so that was weird. Second off, she was beautiful, so that was weird. And third off, she was my age, so like, what in the world? God, seriously, you're telling me to go pray for this girl at camp? But he was very clear. It's like, go pray for her. Go pray for her, right? So we're sitting in worship at the camp, and we're praising, the team is praising, everybody's standing, we're worshiping the Lord, and I hear it clear as day, go pray for that girl, go pray for that girl, and I'm like, no way. So I said, God, if you really want me to go pray for her, I'm going to have a sign, okay? So I don't know if you guys have ever asked God for a sign, but I asked for a sign, like God, if you really want me to pray for, number one, I might get in trouble, number two, she might, make me throw up. And number three, who knows? We might get married. So what do you think? Like, God, I need a sign. Like, I'm not just going to go. So I said, God, I need a sign. So I'm having this argument with God, and I know that I'm supposed to go pray, but I asked him.
And you asked for a specific sign.
I did, a very specific sign. I said, God, if I'm supposed to pray for her, I want her to, because we're worshiping, I want her to start moving her leg like this, like to the beat, right? So we're worshiping. She's standing totally still, hands like, I don't know if it was here or here, I can't remember, but she's totally still, and then all of a sudden her leg just starts bouncing. I'm like, no, that could be a coincidence. Like, that could just be a coincidence. Like, we're worshiping, of course, she's just keeping the time. So I say, no, God. So then she starts doing this, right? And she's still worshiping. I'm like, God, is this a sign? Is this a sign? Then she's like this. And then by the time we're done, she's like, and I'm like, okay, I will pray for her. But, so sometimes you got to step out of the boat. But she just started going to town. So I went and laid hands on her, on her back really nicely. And then all of a sudden, other counselors that I actually didn't get in trouble. They started praying with me. And then her friends came around and started praying with her. She starts bawling, and we just had a God moment there. But it was one of those moments where I asked God, if you're actually saying that, call me out to walk on water, right? It was just one of those moments.
Well, I've had moments in my past that's just different things. We all come from a background, right? We all have had pasts that we've had to live, and there have been things that have happened. And we just don't always comprehend right away what God's trying to tell us. We don't always understand fully why he's saying, go do that, or go here, or go there. And I can remember when I was younger, and God was telling me it's time to pick up where you are and leave and go somewhere else. And I was supposed to go move with my dad, and I was thinking, I can't leave my mom, I can't leave my sisters, I can't do this. But God kept telling me it's time to go. And the funny thing is that he miraculously, sometimes it's a little scary, sometimes life is a little scary when we're not obedient. He's trying to save us from what's coming. And I won't go into it in depth, but I almost died 3 times, and God saved me all 3 times. And they were things that shouldn't have happened. It was miraculous that I didn't die that day. And when the 3rd one happened, I clear as a bell heard him say, it's time to go. Are you going to go now? And I was like, I'm going to die if I don't go. I'm going tomorrow. I went home that night. I told my mom, I got to move over to the other side of the mountain. And it just, everything worked its way out. And miraculously and wonderfully, the most wonderful gift I've ever had in my life came about after I moved. I met my husband
Come
here.
on, everybody.
On the other side of the mountain.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, we can't actually, almost all the time, we can't
Yeah.
comprehend what God is thinking.
And there's fear
His ways are higher than ours, and that's one of the reasons we don't step out.
That's
Because
right.
what God is telling us to do, we can't comprehend
Right.
with our earthly mind even doing that, right? I can't comprehend
Right.
what He's telling me to do
Yeah.
because my mind doesn't go there.
And we don't always see the benefits.
But the
of
Bible
what's coming.
the Bible talks about how His ways are higher than ours.
Right.
In fact, I want to read that scripture. It actually is found in Isaiah chapter 55. Isaiah 55 verse 8 says, "My thoughts," and I like how the NLT says it, "my thoughts are nothing like your thoughts." Come on, somebody. Like our thoughts are not like His.
Right.
And that's His way of saying, you can't understand what I'm thinking.
You can't even begin
You
to
can't
understand.
But the Bible says, "My thoughts are nothing like your
Yeah.
thoughts," says the Lord, "and my ways are far beyond anything you could even imagine."
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
comprehend it. We can't think
Yeah.
like Him.
That's so true. It's funny that we think we can grasp what God's thinking or what He has intended for us. As humans, we're so small compared to God, and He has so much more. And even our own lives, we could see a lot bigger if we just broaden our vision. But we just can't even comprehend what He's thinking. And if we would just be obedient to step out,
Yeah.
I mean, the blessings that are waiting for us are so huge.
Yeah.
And amazing. Like, it just starts a chain reaction of blessing and opening doors in our life when we just choose to.
There have been many times where God even spoke to us in our marriage to do something, and we couldn't comprehend it because if you think about it, God tells us to do something, we have to be ready financially, emotionally. There's things we got to change in our life, change in our career, change in our house. And we're like, God, are you even thinking straight? Because look at this. I don't have the money. I don't have the finances. I don't have the job. My job, I'd have to quit or whatever. We have little kids.
And sometimes things don't add up. If He asks you to relocate, you don't have a job when you go
how
there.
Do you
don't
that?
have the money to move.
It doesn't add up. Like, how do you do that?
It takes faith to do that.
Yeah, so there have been times in our life where we had to step out in faith to even do that. And I remember, when we got married, we married into ministry. I was already a pastor. You married me, so you joined me in my ministry. And now we've been married 26 years. Let's go! 26 years of marriage and ministry. But when we first got married, we had no kids, we had no money, we had nothing really except each other. But we just loved the ministry and what we did. We went to camps, and then God told us to go be with Dad before he passed. And we wanted our kids to just be with Grandpa before he passed. And so he instructed us, it's okay, go to Iowa. We're like, okay, well then I have to resign from my church. We have to pick up and take little kids with us because Kaylani, DJ Dizzle, she wasn't even 1 year old yet. And we're thinking in our mind, like, this doesn't even comprehend. We want to go do it, but how? How are we going to do it? And we just had to step out. And you know what, though? Doing that was so incredible because it led to one thing after the other, a blessing after blessing after blessing. Then we got to be with Dad, right?
And the one thing that we want to say is that just because you follow God's leading doesn't mean that the way's always going to be smooth. You're still going to be walking in the storm when you're obeying God sometimes, or you'll get there and another storm arises or something else happens and you're like, all right, that just means keep trusting, keep believing, keep stepping, keep moving, keep pressing forward no matter what's going on around you. God still got us in the midst of it. And I mean, this story is so amazing.
The reality is when we come up against something that is confusing, something that we can't comprehend, something we don't understand. You remember back in, was it the 80s or the 90s, a bumper sticker came out. And somebody created a bumper sticker that said, WWJD, what would Jesus do? So I always like to ask, when we're confused, when we don't understand.
The bracelets.
We're afraid. We had the wraparound bracelets. What would Jesus do? The T-shirts, the bumper stickers.
It was everywhere.
Everywhere. What would Jesus, the Cracker Jack box tattoos. Actually, I don't know if that was ever in there, but you remember those days, and everybody was asking, well, what would Jesus do?
Right.
Because the reality is whatever he would do, our minds don't automatically think like him. I would love to be there, though. I'd love to get to the point in our life where we automatically think like Jesus.
Train our thinking to stop for a minute and say, what would Jesus do in this situation?
Right, no matter
what.
How
would he act? How would he react? What would he do?
Yeah. And if we just think about it, what would Jesus do? Eventually, with enough practice, enough exercising, we'll just automatically think like Jesus thinks, right? We want to think like Jesus thinks, do like Jesus does. And when you ask, what would Jesus do? Oh, I would do what Johnny does, because he does what Jesus does. I would do what KRISTIE does, because she does what Jesus does. And we would always think like him. Yep. It would be cool.
It would be super cool.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to diaper. Did I just say diaper? We're going to dive deeper into the Word of God, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Step Out on Straight Talk.
We're going to deep diaper.
We're going to deep diaper. We're going to deep diaper.
Faith in the midst of a storm is such a hard thing to do. Yeah. But it's so rewarding when we do step out in the midst of the storm and walk forward in faith. If we just, sometimes it feels like you're wearing a blindfold. Like, you can't see where you're going. Right. You don't know. Like, I've never been out of the Northwest that I can remember.
When I'm listening to a customer, my number one priority is to listen.
In every moment that I'm with this customer or this client, am I doing everything that I can to look out for their best interest at the end of the day?
Just make sure they have plenty of options and they're happy with the choice that they make. It doesn't matter what we want, everything that they want is what we want to make happen.
At the end of the day, we do a walkthrough, communicate with the customer, make sure they're completely happy with what they've spent their hard-earned money for.
We keep playing with fire.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. We're talking about stepping out in faith and how we miss out on a lot of miracles because we're afraid to step out of the boat like Peter stepped out. And we also ended with talking about the bumper stickers. Remember the bumper stickers? What would Jesus do? We can't comprehend. The Bible talked about it. We read that in Scripture, that his ways are higher than ours. And I like how the New Living Translation said it. It's like, how did he say it? Like, you don't even, like, you can't even think like me or something like that. But that's just God. God's ways are higher than ours.
Nothing like you.
Nothing, right. My thoughts are nothing like your thoughts. And that's so true. My dad used to tell me that, actually. He'd say, son, you don't think anything like me. In fact, when I was thinking dumb, he would say, son, that's about as dumb as a rock. You know what I come back with? Well, don't let the rocks cry out then.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So what would Jesus do? Let's talk a little bit about that because sometimes we just don't know, right? We talked about moving to Iowa and we had to step out of the boat. But then there was also a time where we had to step out of the boat to even come back here.
Right,
you know?
And we were just talking about how often we step out in faith. We left and went to Iowa, and just trying to settle in when we got to Iowa, it's a little uncomfortable sometimes. You're out of your element. You're in a whole new area. You're around new people. You were looking for a new job. We have 2 little toddlers, not quite 1 year, almost 3-year-old. So you're learning to get to know people, and it's really uncomfortable sometimes. It's just super uncomfortable. And you have to not just step out in like where you go sometimes, but step out as you're settling in. Stepping out and meeting new people, stepping out and getting used to things that you're not used to. And that's even personalities and people, and learning to just react and act properly.
Yeah.
While you're doing that in the midst of your uncomfortableness. Is that
right.
a word? Is that
Uncomfortableness.
A word? Uncomfortableness.
I mean, stepping out is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were in Iowa, you know, the Lord instructed us to go ahead and start our church there.
Right.
We started City Life Worship Center in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yep.
It took faith to step out and do that.
Yeah.
First off, we're in Iowa.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought I would be in Iowa. All we saw was flat land, a lot of corn.
And a lot of tornado warnings.
Yes.
I've never been around a tornado warning. I'm like, okay, there's a horn blaring in my apartment, but I have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I just remember being there with an almost 1-year-old thinking, what does that horn mean? I didn't even know what a tornado horn sounded like.
Yeah, you know, when God said start a church, I was like, oh my goodness, for real?
Yep.
Like in the middle of corn? Like, what are you doing, God? And he says, you don't think nothing like me. You know what I mean? So we had to step out and actually do that, but it led to more blessings. And then I remember this part of Iowa too, is we had to step out in faith financially because, you know, the church really wasn't paying us anything really. So I had to go back to work. And I remember this. I worked at Blockbuster Video. Blockbuster Video. I remember the blue shirt and the yellow tie or the yellow trim and all the collar and all that. And I worked at Blockbuster Video, but God blessed through there. And then it led to another step out moment when Dad was in the hospital a lot. We had to drive back and forth. You remember that?
I do.
And I had to actually, God said, quit your job and go be with your dad.
Yeah.
It was like,
almost 2.5 months.
Yeah.
No, not quite 2. Almost 2 months. We were in the hospital.
Back and forth.
An hour away.
Yeah, we had to
drive
drive
2
all
hours
the way
away
out there.
just to get to the hospital. VA hospital was in another town, so we had to drive back and forth. So people donated hotel time to us, and the family, whoever was there, Maria and Becky, Kevin's mom and sister, lived in Iowa at that time. And all of us, our 2 kids, Kevin and I, and Maria and Becky would jam into these little 2-queen rooms, and we would just all be like, you know, sardines in a can. Everybody lays straight in the bed, and we would find a spot to sleep. And it you know, it wasn't always comfortable, but we were there and willing to be with family and just doing what we needed to do at the moment and just trusting God, and he had us through all of it.
And Kay Dizzle, Grandpa called her Pebbles.
Pebbles, his little
and
Pebbles.
She got to be in the hospital room with Grandpa, but it took us stepping out in faith, and Cameron took us stepping out in faith and actually quitting my job and working temp jobs. And I was like, well, what am I going to do working temp jobs? But what it allowed me to do was pick the ones that, you know, if we had to go be with Dad, I could say no. But if Dad was having a good day, I could say yes. And so we took these temp jobs. And I remember the first job I took, I think it paid us like $11 an hour or something like that. Like $11 an hour. Like, you know, you work 10 hours, I made $110. Take taxes out, I made like 70. I'm like, for 10 hours. But we had to do what we had to do. So I gave up my salary at Blockbuster, and we started, you know, working temp jobs, or at least I did, so that we could earn money. Then from there, that was a late night job, remember?
Yeah, that was at the hotels?
No, that was at Wells Fargo as a temp. And
locked in a room.
Locked in a room at night, doing a really dumb job. But we did it. And that wasn't enough. So what I did is we'd go visit Dad. I would go there at night and work. And then in the morning, early in the morning, we took a second job, and I was the night auditor at a Motel 8.
Motel 8.
Remember that? I'm telling you these stories because we had to step out. It's not comfortable. In fact, it was painful.
Yeah, it was very painful at moments, and your family is just doing what they can, just trying to be where they can be, and, you know, get through it, just push through it, try to grasp onto one another and just continue to go through those moments, and God led us through and leads you in the direction where you needed to go. You didn't work for Wells Fargo and at Motel 8 for very long, did you? It was only a couple of months.
It was a few months, 2 or 3 months I worked for both, and then Wells Fargo blessed us with a promotion.
And
we just
to
kept
a
getting
salary job, correct?
Well, no, I went from like $11 an hour to like $12.50. Woo! But we'll talk about more blessings coming. But, you know, we did have to step out, and God just kept blessing. time after time after time, but it was painful. And I think about Peter. You know, Peter had to step out of the boat, and I'm sure it was painful for him because they were in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
Right? So that boat was rocking. There was storms everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember going deep sea fishing with our nephew before his wedding.
Yep.
And I can tell you, if that was anything like that, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, oh, that was a good one. You know, my nephew got married, and for part of his bridal party, he decided to take all the men out on a
bridal
fishing
party or bachelor party?
Bachelor party. Was it the bachelor party?
It was bachelor party.
Okay, so all the guys went out on deep sea fishing?
Yep.
Deep sea fishing. Kevin's never been on a boat in the sea.
So just imagine Peter in one boat.
Yeah.
Kevin in another boat.
Like Peter in the boat.
I'm telling you, it was the worst
you
experience
don't even need a
of
storm
my
in the
life.
sea.
I'd never been so sick in my life.
You were in the bathroom the whole time, weren't you? Sick.
Yeah, so I started in the bathroom. Everybody had fishing poles, and I had one on the side of the boat, but I never touched it, ever. I actually was in the bathroom the whole time.
Yeah.
And then after that, I came out. They said, "Oh, you want to fish now?" I'm like, Had to lay flat the whole time. I was puking over the rail the whole entire time. So it's not always comfortable to be on a boat, and then God says, "Step out."
Come on out.
Come on out. How many of us would step out? Like, honestly, like if he invited me to go on a boat right now, just like that, in the middle of a storm, to go fishing, I'd probably have to say no. I mean, I couldn't do it. It's painful. It was the worst time ever. But it's not always comfortable. So here's Peter. He's in the boat. They're in the middle of a storm, and they see Jesus, and they're afraid.
Right.
And Jesus says, "Step on out."
Yeah.
Step on out. Come on out.
Yeah.
But have you ever been in the middle of a storm? It's not easy. It's scary.
Absolutely.
It hurts. Like there was probably waves splashing everywhere and lightning and thunder and who knows. But he had to trust God.
And often life looks just like that. Looks just like that. When we first moved to Iowa, Dad was passing away. Life looked a little uneasy. The ground looked uneven. But we felt God's hand in the midst of everything we were doing, and he was right there to always, hold on to us, hold us together, keep us going, keep the boat moving. Keep the boat moving. But we were just really, faith in the midst of a storm is such a hard thing to do. Yeah. But it's so rewarding when we do step out in the midst of the storm and walk forward in faith. If we just, sometimes it feels like you're wearing a blindfold. Like, you can't see where you're going. Right. You don't know. Like, I've never been out of the Northwest that I can remember. Born in Texas. Yeah. But we were so little. I just remember my older sister being really mean to me before leaving Texas because I was so small and she liked to stick things on the cabinet so I couldn't reach them. But that's all I remember before that. But, it's uncomfortable to go somewhere where you know nothing. I'm like, what's Iowa got to offer? What's in Iowa? What is even Iowa? Yeah. But God just walks you right through it. Yeah. He leads you through it, right beside you the whole time.
And to have faith to step out, the Bible talks about faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of the things you have not seen. Mm-hmm. So in order to really experience that miracle and see the evidence of that miracle, you got to step out. Yeah. You have to step out. Yeah. But we're out of time for today. But I love this discussion, and we're going to pick it up next week. We're going to continue to talk about stepping out in faith and talk about life-threatening storms. Yeah. Because Peter, they all experienced a life-threatening storm. When he got out of that water, it was a life-threatening. That's why it was so scary. And sometimes the experiences we have, it seems life-threatening. It really does. And so sometimes that life-threatening storm precedes your miracle. Yeah. There could be a miracle just on the other side of that storm.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you all for joining us today on our premiere of
very
Straight
first
Talk.
One, our very first
audience. One. Yes. Well, now we have a little treat before we go out for the day. And we're going to have Johnny Williams come back to the stage and take us out with a little bit more music. So
awesome.
Welcome Johnny Williams back to the stage.
Wandering into the night, wanting a place to hide this weary soul. this bag of bones. And I tried with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, yeah, a vagabond.